So, welcome to the webinar about the Research and Innovation Staff Exchange call for 2017. My name is Jennifer Brennan and I'm the National Contact Point and National Delegate for the Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions, working here at the Irish Universities Association, with thanks to support from the Irish Research Council. So, as I mentioned earlier, during the webinar, can you please type your queries using the interface provided, and we'll have all the slides and the recorded video available next week on the IUA website. So I'm just going to start by introducing briefly the Marie Skłodowska-Curie office here at IUA. So we are sponsored by the Irish Research Council, and we have three main functions, which is to promote the actions to Irish researchers and research organisations, to support researchers in preparing their funding applications, and to contribute to the development of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. We currently have three persons working in the office, myself as NCP and National Delegate, and my colleague Suzanne Miller-Delaney, who is our Programme Officer who provides dedicated support for the SFI funded research centres and is funded by SFI to do so. And we also have my colleague Grace McCarthy, who works part-time for us as a Research Officer, and she focuses on supporting non-academic organisations in Marie Skłodowska-Curie and also works in our Euraccess Ireland office. So just to mention as extra support that we're providing for the RISE call for 2017. So we've developed a handbook which will help you with the writing. This includes three sections. First of all, an introduction which sets out the policy context for the call, an annotated template with instructions and guidance on what to write in each section, and a how to submit guide which takes you through the electronic application. And these will be available next week on the IOA website. We also have some training videos that complement this webinar. We have 4 videos which cover the excellence section, the impact section, and the implementation section of the proposal, and then a short video which focuses on the dissemination, exploitation, communications, and outreach sections of the proposal, which people often find difficult to write. So I'm going to start by introducing the Research and Innovation Staff Exchange, which has the key focus to promote international and intersectoral collaboration through research and innovation staff exchanges. It has the policy objective to foster a shared culture of research and innovation. The budget for the call is €80 million, and the deadline is the 5th of April 2017. Now, when we talk about intersectoral collaboration, for the purposes of the Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions, they have defined 2 distinct sectors, which we call the academic sector and the non-academic sector. Academic includes higher education institutions, any publicly funded research organisations in Ireland, that would be places like Teagasc and the Marine Institute, and any private non-profit research organisations. The non-academic sector covers industry of all sizes, civil society organisations like NGOs, government and public sector, and essentially any other organisation that is not considered academic. Within the RISE call, participation by the non-academic sector is desirable, but it's not a requirement for success, as you will find in the other Marie Skłodowska-Curie actions. So, a typical RISE programme looks like the following. It's a consortium programme which involves organisations from different countries and different sectors, and you can include countries from outside Europe within a RISE consortium. They propose a joint research and innovation programme which you implement in 2 ways. First of all, you agree to second your staff around the consortium for any duration between 1 month and 12 months. Now, staff is a catch-all term. It means research students, postdoctoral researchers and more senior people, principal investigators and group leaders. It could be technical staff, research administration and managerial staff related to the research area. Those secondments then are complemented by networking and training events. The maximum programme duration is about 48 months long, but we have also seen projects that were shorter. 36 months is also common. So just to put forward some reasons to apply for the RISE programme. So this is a smaller scale Horizon 2020 project. So for those of you who haven't been involved in H2020 before, it's a good first step on the H2020 funding ladder. It provides a really good opportunity to forge and strengthen collaborations with research groups and industry worldwide. It also offers the opportunity to build on an existing research collaboration, perhaps bringing in new partners, working with different countries and organisations that you haven't done before. And, in thinking of that Horizon 2020 ladder, it might be a good opportunity to trial partners for a period before you think about a larger Horizon 2020 application. The funding model for RISE looks as follows. So the program does not pay for the salary of the researchers who get involved in it. Instead, it provides a top-up allowance which should be provided to the researchers to help with their travel costs. So for travel, flights, etc., accommodation costs and subsistence. So every time a researcher travels within the program, they receive €2,000 per month to cover that. And every time a researcher travels, the consortium starts to build up a fund to cover research training and networking costs and also management and indirect costs of €4,500 a month. The maximum number of months of secondments that can take place in a project is 540 months in total, which will give you a budget of around €2.4 million. However, the budgets that are funded in RISE calls really vary quite a lot. And the median budget, for example, funded in 2015 was 700,000, but we've seen projects as small as 1 or 200,000 right up to that 2.4 million. Just to give you an example of how the institutional costs work, if you imagine a project where you had 10 researchers who each travel for 10 months, that would be 100 secondment months. So then you would have €2,000 per month per researcher, so that's €200,000 in total for their travel, accommodation and subsistence costs. And then you would build up a fund of €450,000, which would cover research training and networking and management and indirect costs. So let's have a look at how the program is put together, and we'll start with some definitions. So there are 3 different kinds of countries which are part of a RISE or RISE consortium. That's first of all the member states, the EU member states, the countries which have associated themselves to Horizon 2020, also called the associate countries, or AC for short, and TC, which is third country, which is essentially all those countries which don't fall into the MS or AC category. When we speak about Europe in the context of Marie Skłodowska-Curie, we mean the member states and the associate countries. It covers altogether around 40 countries. In terms of types of participants, for the program we've defined 2 different kinds. Beneficiaries, which is organizations in the member states and associate countries, and partner organizations, which is the organizations in third countries. For RISE, the minimum consortium that you can have is 3 participants in 3 countries, and that comes in 2 forms. If you decide to keep your consortium entirely within Europe, so made up of member states and associate countries, you must have as a minimum 2 academic participants and 1 non-academic participant, or vice versa. So an example of an eligible consortium would be, say, University College Dublin here in Ireland, the CNRS in France, and an SME in Germany. That would be a perfectly eligible minimum consortium. If you decide that you want to include third countries, so outside of Europe, your minimum consortium is 2 European and 1 non-European. And so that's, for example, UCD in Ireland, CNRS in France, and the University of Chile in Chile. A question that we get quite often is, what's the sort of optimum size of a RISE consortium? And to be honest with you, we can't really give you an answer to that. We have seen consortia as small as 3 or 4 organizations and consortia as large as 20 organizations. Our advice is always to include the beneficiaries and partner organizations that you need to make your project work and not think about the optimum size, because it really does vary. So in terms of the secondments, there are some rules around these. So the minimum duration of a secondment is 1 month, and the maximum duration is 12 months for any particular researcher. So the same researcher can travel more than once to different organizations as long as the total is no more than 12 months. It is possible to have split stays for shorter visits. So if a researcher goes for 2 weeks in month 2 of the project and 2 weeks again in month 20 to the same organization, that counts as the minimum duration of 1 month during the project. The staff that you send must be active at their host for at least 6 months before they go on secondment. They must be brought back after the secondment. However, there's no duration or mechanism specified, so you don't have to guarantee that you're going to employ this researcher for a long time after they come back from secondment. You just have to prove that they will come back, even if it's just for a couple of days. As I mentioned before, the staff can be seconded more than once during the project, up to the maximum of 12 months. And for those of you who are familiar with the other Marie Skłodowska-Curie Actions calls, you'll know that we have a mobility rule. However, this does not apply to secondments in RISE programs at all. And there are also no conditions on the balance of secondments. So for example, if UCD was to second for 20 months, they don't have to have a return visit of 20 months from the hosting organisation. So let's have a look at what secondments are eligible. So within Europe, all secondments must be cross-border and cross-sector. So I've given 3 examples of possible secondments here. So an eligible secondment in this programme would be from an academic organisation such as a higher education institution in Ireland to a non-academic organisation such as an NGO in France, because that crosses both a border and crosses between sectors, between academic and non-academic. The 2 examples on the bottom of the screen would not be eligible for funding within this programme. They could happen, but you would have to pay for them yourself. And that would be between academic organisations in Europe and also within the same country. So secondments, for example, from a HEI in Ireland to an NGO in Ireland could not occur. And secondments from a HEI in Ireland to a HEI in France would not be allowed. However, you could fund them yourself if you really wanted to have them in the programme. So between Europe and third countries, so outside Europe, all your secondments must be across the border between Europe and those third countries. But there are no cross-sectoral requirements. So in this programme, it's absolutely fine for somebody from an academic organisation in Europe to go to an academic organisation in Chile, for example. Equally, they could also go to a non-academic organisation in Chile, so they would be eligible secondments. However, there cannot be any secondments within those third countries, so you can't swap people around within organisations in Chile, for example, and there can't be any secondments with between different third countries. So it wouldn't be possible, for example, to second somebody from Chile to South Africa in these projects or vice versa. Now, when we talk about the third countries, there is a bit of a distinction. So there is a list of countries which are eligible for EU funding, and I've given you the hyperlink to where you can find a document where these are outlaid. However, very high-income countries such as the USA and the BRIC countries, Brazil, Russia, India and China, are not automatically eligible to receive funding from Horizon 2020, and typically they have to bring their own funding in the programme. I'll explain that more in a moment. However, all countries can come to Europe to attend project meetings and network and training events, so you can still meet up with these people. So what this means is that if you have exchanges with third countries in your programme, it's absolutely fine for the project to pay for researchers from Europe to go to any of those Horizon 2020 funded third countries and back again. However, if you have a non-Horizon 2020 funded third country like the USA, the project will only pay for secondments from Europe to that country. If the return journey is to happen, they have to usually provide their own funding to do so. So that all sounds very complicated, so I'm just going to show you some examples of actual funded projects to give you a more reasonable idea of how this might work. So this project is called WASCARD, and it's coordinated by the University of Ulster in the UK and Northern Ireland. It includes Waterford Institute of Technology here in the Republic, INSEE in France, which is a public research organisation, and it also has 3 non-academic organisations, and that's SD Informatics, a company in Croatia, a healthcare trust representing a hospital in the UK, and a company in the UK. So remembering that all our secondments within Europe must cross a border and a sector, the eligible secondments in this programme are as follows. The University of Ulster can exchange with the company in Croatia, but not with the non-academic organisations within the UK because that doesn't cross the border. Similarly, they can't exchange with Waterford Institute of Technology or INSEE because that doesn't cross a sector. Waterford Institute of Technology have more options in this project. They can exchange with all the non-academic organisations, and INSEE have the same arrangement. Now to give you an example of a completely international project which has no non-academic organisations in it, just all academic. So this involves the University of Plymouth, Ghent and Liverpool, and CSIC, which is a public organisation in Spain. Then it has 3 organisations from outside of Europe, Jimmy University from Ethiopia, Kathmandu University from Nepal, and the Scripps Institute in the US. So looking at the University of Plymouth, it can exchange researchers with the Ethiopian organisation and the Nepalese organisation. It can send its researchers to the Scripps Institute, but if that return journey wants to happen, the Scripps Institute will have to pay for that. And within this project, the secondment rules are the same actually for Ghent, Liverpool and CSIC, so I'm not going to show them on the screen. So this is an example now of a project which involves both non-academic organisations and non-European organisations. So it's both international and intersectoral. So this involves 4 academic organisations within Europe, coordinated by University College Dublin, and it involves 3 non-academic organisations within Europe and 3 organisations outside of Europe. Now it's quite difficult to show all the eligible secondments in this programme because actually there are so many, but I've attempted to do it here. So the European academic organisations can send people to the non-academic ones, the yellow colour, and also to the non-European ones. And of course, the non-academic ones in Europe can also exchange with the green ones who are not in Europe. So there's a very lively secondment programme here, and the same, the return journeys can happen too. So I'm going to look now at writing an application and making sure that you get the impact right before you start writing. So the expected impact of a RISE programme is set out in the work programme for 2016 to 2017 for the Myers-Sklodowska-Curie actions, and you can find this online. So the Commission has stated that they want to see impacts on 3 different levels for RISE. First, at staff member level, second, at organisation level, and third, at system level, meaning the research system in Europe. So at staff member level, for the people who go on secondments and participate in the programme, they want to see an increase in research-related and transferable skills, improved employability and career prospects, both in and outside of academia. They want to see higher impact research and innovation output and more knowledge and ideas being converted into products and services, and overall, a greater contribution of those staff members to the knowledge-based economy and society. At organisation level, so the beneficiaries and partner organisations who get involved, they want to see enhanced cooperation and transfer of knowledge between sectors and disciplines, strengthening of those international and intersectoral collaborative networks, and boosting of the research and innovation capacity among those participating organisations. Finally, at system level, meaning the research system within Europe, they want to see an increase in international, interdisciplinary and intersectoral mobility of researchers in Europe, a strengthening of the human capital base in R&I within Europe, an increase in Europe's attractiveness as a destination for R&I, and better quality research and innovation, contributing to Europe's competitiveness and growth. So it's a really good idea, of course, to keep these things in mind when you're designing your programme, particularly in terms of writing the impact section. So it's very useful to start your thinking with outlining what the potential impact of your RISE proposal would be and summarise it in a paragraph like this. So as an example, your RISE impact could be to form an international and intersectoral network in organisations working on a joint research programme in the fields of X and Y. The participants will exchange skills and knowledge which will allow them to progress towards key advances in Z, another area, and strengthen collaborative research between different countries and sectors. Advances in Z will have potential market opportunities for non-academic participants in the project, or could have significant benefit for European society, or both. The staff members who participate in the project will develop new skills, be exposed to new research environments, and have their career perspectives widened. And it's a really good idea for the first paragraph of your proposal to be something similar to this that outlines the overall aim of the programme. So then how do you go about achieving this particular impact? So thinking first of all about the complementarity of your consortium. So which participants, including beneficiaries from Europe and partner organisations from outside, do you need to achieve this impact? How will you harness the competencies and in order to achieve this impact? How will you shape the research programme in order to achieve the impact? How do you shape your transfer of knowledge programme to achieve the impact? And how will you manage the programme to ensure that the impact is achieved? Next, we'll look at the evaluation of the proposals. So when you submit your proposal to a Myers-Sklodowska-Curie Actions call, you must choose from one of 8 panels, which cover everything from chemistry and physics right through to social sciences, humanities, and economic sciences. The Research Executive Agency, who manages the calls on behalf of the European Commission, will send your proposal to 3 disciplinary experts. They will have a consensus meeting where they will discuss the scores and comments that they have allocated for your proposal, and they will come up with a final set of scores and comments. The evaluation criteria look like this. So there's 50% for excellence, 30% for impact, and 20% for implementation. And just to show you, the overall what they break down into. So under excellence, they look at the quality of the research project, the quality of knowledge sharing, and the quality of the interaction between the participants. Under impact, they want to see you talking about the potential and future career perspectives of the staff members, developing new and lasting research collaborations and achieving transfer of knowledge, the quality of your measures to disseminate the project results, and the quality of the measures to communicate the project's results, which are different, and our training video will explain the difference between the two. Under implementation, they look at your work plan, your management plan, the appropriateness of the institutional and environment, and the complementarity, experiences and competences of the participating organisations. So it's important to notice actually that the quality of the research project is only one of the three things that they look at under the excellence criteria. So it's not the most important, and it's always a really good idea to think about the other aspects of the project, not just the research that you want to do, because at the end of the day, the research doesn't get that much marks. Something that can have an influence on your evaluation outcomes is a thing called the Charter and Code and the Human Resources Strategy for Researchers. So the Charter and Code is embedded in the evaluation criteria for all Myers-Sklodowska-Curie actions, and you will see extracts from it within the proposal template that you can download. The Charter is a document that talks about researchers' career management, and the Code talks about open and transparent recruitment and appraisal, and these have been in place for about 10 or 12 years now. So if any participants have written a letter to the European Commission to endorse the Charter and Code, that should be mentioned in the proposal. And on the bottom right-hand side of the screen, we've given you the link where you can see the list of all organisations who have done that. The Human Resources Strategy for Researchers was a project carried out by the Commission to mainstream the Charter and Code in institutions. So organisations had to come up with a gap analysis between what their policies were and the policies that are stated in the Charter and Code, and then an action plan to, over a 4-year period, make changes to improve conditions for researchers. On completion of this process, they were awarded the right to use the HR logo, which is given on the right-hand side of the screen. So if any of the participants in your consortium have won the HR logo, it should be included in the proposal. And there are many Irish organisations who now have the HR logo. And again, we've given you the link where you can find the list of organisations who have endorsed it. One important thing that takes place during the evaluation is the operational capacity check. And that's to see whether the organisations that are participating have the actual capacity to participate in the project. It's very important that the role of the participant in the project matches their current capacity to participate, not future. So capacity means things like appropriate facilities, personnel, actual physical space within your laboratories or research facilities, financial stability and level of experience in the research area. And this issue was problematic for some small companies who participated in the 2014 RISE call. Where, for example, an organisation is quite small, they have a small office and maybe 2 staff persons, but they were saying that, well, in 3 years' time when we're implementing the RISE project, we're going to have 10 people working first and we're going to have much bigger offices. But actually, the evaluators said, well, they don't have the capacity to participate now, and we couldn't guarantee that they will actually have those 10 staff and those bigger offices, because that's conditional on many things, including company growth and getting extra funding from somewhere else. So we would not allow those organisations to participate in the project. So the RISE Call 2017, it opened on the 1st of December and it closes on the 5th of April. And as I mentioned before, the indicative budget is €80 million. You'll get the results in early September of 2017 if you apply in April. Just to give you an idea, some statistics from last year for Ireland. So we participated in total in 43 proposals, 9 as coordinator and 34 as partner. And we had a very good success rate in that. So over half of our coordinated proposals were funded, and around 1/3 of our projects where we participated in someone else's project were funded as well. So overall, we have a success rate of about 37%, and that compares to around 24–25% overall in Europe. So we're doing quite well here. So just to remind you that next week after the webinar, we will have our handbook available, we'll have our training videos on writing a good proposal, we'll have our recording of today's webinar, and we'll have our slides from today's webinar available in the events and training section. And we will send you an email when all this is available so that you can access the files. So that's it for our brief introduction to the RISE Research and Innovation Staff Exchange Call 2017. Thanks very much for your attention. I'm going to mute my microphone now and just focus on answering the questions that have been asked. Thank you.